And so it's been discovered by researchers that the mind performs 10 trillion tasks per second without you being aware of it. And that's all subconscious, right? So if you ask yourself this question again, what's causing my blood to flow all through my body and keep me alive? What's processing the oxygen I breathe? What the fuck is making my heart beat? Are you consciously doing any of that right now? No. Your subconscious mind is in charge of all of that. And so it has this tremendous power over you, because if your brain actually could process 10 trillion bits of information all in one go, you'd be walking around with your fucking eyes rolling back in your head like all day long. Right? So it has to have this mechanism to do all the hard work for you. And so the conscious mind can't really do shit all. It only takes in 140 bits of information in a second. So your subconscious is communicating to 60 trillion cells at approximately 6 trillion commands per second. That's a lot of stuff. So the subconscious holds all of those things that make you who you are, and they make you do what you do. It keeps you alive. It keeps you healthy. It keeps you happy. And if something makes changes to this part of your mind, then it can cause problems, or it can create some really nice things. And my question to people is always, are you aware of your subconscious programming and the consequential behaviors? Because very few people really are. We have research in the cognitive neurosciences that validate that the conscious mind is the creative part, and it's responsible for what we call free will. And it's only 1% to 5% of our daily experiences and the actions that we take are coming from conscious awareness. So the rest is coming from the subconscious. What I really want to say here is that, like, we're always running programs, and a lot of people would have heard that before, but they still don't really fully get what that means. And when you are being mindful and you learn how to embody the understanding of what it feels like to be grateful and loved, then you can manage all that stuff. And, you'll be watching a movie and, Marvel Avengers, and you realize, holy shit, they're trying to program me with stuff before they do it. Maybe I should turn off this fucking movie. And maybe I should go read a book, or maybe I should go paint or make some music or do something that's going to actually bring me some joy. So I'll jump off into the details of that controversial shit in a bit when you ask me about it, because I'm sure you will.
Well, when it comes to movies and TV shows, all people are unaware of like how much they're really being programmed by these things, right? Like, come on, Thanos trying to do away with half the people. There's just like, if you don't get it from us just saying that, like, there's a lot of work to be done. Like it's and then the other part of that also is like all those superpowers that the heroes have. Like, there's a reason why we resonate with the heroes, right? And especially, like, I always like to bring up the model of the DC universe, because like you have Batman, who's just like a rich guy that just like learned how to fight, and like that at his core is just like, can be any of us, right? And like all the Doctor Strange and how he can stop time and reverse time, and there's very human elements in every single one of these heroes. And like, we can do all of these things. Now, I'm not telling you to try and be Spider-Man and jump off the freaking roof and try to shoot a web, because like, we know that's not going to happen, right? But just be mindful. Like, there's a reason why all these superheroes have these powers, right? Someone didn't just think of these powers out of nowhere. And that's a whole, just being mindful of like all the things that we're watching. And, you know, I got called out by a person close to me in my life, because I was listening to a lot more of just like the comedians podcast lately, instead of, you know, diving into, you know, the educational podcasts that I really love. And there's been like a big shift in my life where I'm listening to now a lot more of stuff about philosophy. And there's just already a difference in my life from making that switch. Right. And it was a truth that I didn't want to hear, that I was doing too much of the indulging in just like mindless entertainment instead of mindful education, which is why I fell in love with podcasts and this whole universe that we're in right now doing. And I've learned so much just in the last month of making that switch, and like found out so many things that what's the wording I'm trying to use here? There's like so many things that like I heard of but didn't know what it meant. And like you find like the meaning behind the thing. It's just been such a cool, you know, over the last month, it's been such, you know, so much. I'm deep into, you know, Greek philosophers. We just Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Like, I can't get enough of it. I love it so much right now. And that's what I'm trying to learn more and more about right now. So I want to ask you about these superheroes and the Marvel universe and stuff like that. Like, what did you mean when you pointed that out?
So I really used the Marvel as one of the most popular examples of destructive subconscious programming. So let me actually launch into a spiel here and explain to people what's going on. So, first of all, have you ever wondered how much of your behavior is automatically carried out as a result of the music you listen to, or the books and TV and movies and stuff you consume? Like, honestly, self-destructive programming gets installed in us by the media that we take in. So you might be thinking to yourself, oh, it can't hurt to watch a movie. Or you might be saying, this song totally reminds me of a time I was in love. Or, oh, Ricky's been my best friend for 7 years. And, you know, I would say to you, yeah, that's really nice. However, when are you going to let that go? Because all that stuff that you think is fun is just hardwiring the associated emotions and patterns of behavior into you that are creating garbage experiences in your life. So, you know, go and let Ricky fuck up his own life. Like, if you want better, then it makes sense not to program yourself with the opposite of what you want. And the same thing goes for listening to the radio, streaming services, and, you know, magazines and all that other stuff, the fiction books and stuff out there. You know, it goes for the company you keep, whether it's your family or your friend circles. Your subconscious mind emulates common behavior. And all of these things are just void fillers and distractions from your true self. And any argument against that is usually a really good indicator to you, the person arguing, where you lack self-love, because you're willing to cling to old programs and everybody else's concepts of who you should be more than you really want the abundance and more than you really want a prosperous life, right? So it means that self-sabotage is more important to people that do this than inner peace and progress. Now, if you really want to have a happy life, inner peace and progress are important. So that usually pisses off a lot of people when I say that, because they're not ready to be by themselves. The person that they think that they are is such a horrible person inside their heads that they're like, man, I can't be with myself at all. I'm a monster. And back to the point, in every single moment of the day, we're being drawn towards the subconscious programs of others via the media and from culture, especially. So this keeps us in these stupid patterns of behavior, and we create these mediocre fucking circumstances for ourselves. And the subconscious mind loves repetition. And your behavior is shaped by whatever is drilled into your head on repeat, day in, day out. So there's a good chance that everything that you do is as a result of something in your environment on repeat. And I'm saying this because in the personal development world that we're allowed to see on the internet, social media, it's based around subconscious programming, is rooted in trauma, and it comes from your parents. We have to understand that those industries are all hijacked by the same people who are programming you with the ideas that create a mediocre life. So when they tell you that the problem you have now at 35 is as a result of your mommy dropping you on your head when you were 5, and to you that was so bad and that was trauma, to me, I only have one option, and that's to tell you, get fucking real with yourself. Because not to invalidate anybody's trauma, there are real traumas, and then there are the things that we don't want to work through because we like to believe that we are our own best psychologist. And then we go and we pay some douchebag that has a degree but no competency to keep us stuck in victimhood. And it's not all the things that your parents did to you. So before I launch into the other stuff about the subconscious mind, let me actually fully explain, because I'm here to provide as much value as possible and as much of the how stuff works as possible. So from 0 to 7, you're essentially in a trance-like state, and you're taking in all of the programs from everything you're exposed to. From 7 to 14, you are trying to figure out how to apply these programs within the context of the herd, the kids at school, your family, and your friends. And then from 14 to 21, you're still essentially carrying out the same process. So whatever you haven't deleted from that time, now you're trying to bring into adolescence with you and apply all the same programs to different circumstances. And as you learn and as your body grows, and notice what I'm saying, as you learn and as your body grows, your mind doesn't necessarily grow with you if you're taking programs from point to point, year to year, era to era. And that's why age and maturity are different things. Maturity and strength of character are different things, right? So when you get from 21, you only have until you're about 35 to unlearn all of this crap that you didn't know wasn't serving you. Because by the time you're 35, you are basically a collection of hardwired reactions. And so the word react means to act in ways that you have before. So you're not responding to life. You're reacting and trying to put everything that you experience in the box of these subconscious programs that the psychiatry and psychology industry have convinced us now are trauma. And trauma is really what's called a trigger word. And even the word trigger has been created by these same people that keep us victimized and enslaved. So I'll talk more about that if I get into it. I don't want to overwhelm people. I just want to explain what the subconscious mind does and how you move through life trying to apply things. So after age 7, what I just explained to you, what that means is that after age 7, you're essentially responsible for figuring out what works and what doesn't work, what causes you pain and what causes you joy. And so the subconscious mind is just an unquantifiable, in terms of physically seeing it, area that exists. It's almost like this thing exists in quantum and we know it's there because we see how it fucks up our lives, but we couldn't really tell you exactly where it is except for inside the body. And it means well because it's responsible for your bodily functions. And it's always scanning the environment for repeating patterns because this is how it keeps you safe. So it wants to gravitate towards the things that everybody else is doing because it basically says, okay, what are the common things? Whatever the majority of people are doing, it has to be the best option because they're not dead. So your subconscious does not know the difference between what is real life and what is on a TV or a computer or a mobile phone screen. And human beings are pretty much going to emulate any behavior that has a positive reward, even if it's fucking evil. The subconscious mind really only knows what's happening right now as well. So it can't really make an assessment based on the past or based on the future. It's looking for whatever behaviors get a positive reward. And I can't stress that enough because every behavior has a positive reward. So you might go and drink, I don't know, 2 bottles of vodka because that has what you think is a positive reward behind it. Even though it fucks up your whole day and it fucks up your next couple of days and potentially could fuck up your whole life, you don't see that what you think is a positive reward is really a negative one. And so subconscious mind is just going to look for ways to cause you to go and drink the vodka. It's not interested in the in-between. So education is another way that we get trained to look for authority and to take orders. So the subconscious mind is, the subconscious mind loves that shit because the education system stops us from naturally being able to make our own decisions based on what we really want. And in that context, all you have to do is regurgitate, and then you get positive reinforcement for that. And so the subconscious mind goes, oh, okay, that's that safety shit I really love. All right, we eat that up. And, very subtly, what this begins to hardwire into a child is that as long as I am not sovereign, I'm safe. Right? And that's a huge fucking program right there, because if I just go and work a job from 9 to 5, I stay out of my sovereignty, I get money to eat, and I'm safe. Don't ever push the envelope. Don't ever get curious about what it is I'm really here to achieve, to have, to be, to do, because I'm safe as long as I'm outside of sovereignty. And so it's been discovered by researchers that the mind performs 10 trillion tasks per second without you being aware of it. And that's all subconscious, right? So if you ask yourself this question again, what's causing my blood to flow all through my body and keep me alive? What's processing the oxygen I breathe? What the fuck is making my heart beat? What the fuck is regulating my temperature so that I don't freeze to death? Are you consciously doing any of that right now? No. Your subconscious mind is in charge of all of that. And so it has this tremendous power over you, because if your brain actually could process 10 trillion bits of information all in one go, you'd be walking around with your fucking eyes rolling back in your head like all day long. Right? So it has to have this mechanism to do all the hard work for you. And so the conscious mind can't really do shit all. It only takes in 140 bits of information in a second. So your subconscious is communicating to 60 trillion cells at approximately 6 trillion commands per second. That's a lot of stuff. So the subconscious, the subconscious holds all of those things that make you who you are, and they make you do what you do. It keeps you alive. It keeps you healthy. It keeps you happy. And if something makes changes to this part of your mind, then it can cause problems or it can create some really nice things. And my question to people is always, are you aware of your subconscious programming and the consequential behaviors? Because very few people really are. And so where do I really want to take this? Look, if you are under stress, if there's there's just so happened to be a pandemic and you're under stress and there's something invisible trying to kill you for some reason, if you're in an emergency, somebody's drowning, say something like that. You don't have to really visualize that and get into the whole storyline behind that to understand what I'm saying. But when shit's fucked up, you are operating from your subconscious mind because it can process all the millions of bits of data that your conscious mind can't. So, for example, grandma's choking on a fucking pork bone and you don't know the Heimlich maneuver and you're panicking. Sorry, grandma, but you're panicking, right? And you don't know what to do, and your subconscious mind knows that 911 is the number for emergency that's been drilled into its head. I'm trying to use the simplest example here. You're going to hightail it over the phone. Hey, 911, grandma up in here having a shit fit. Help immediately. And that's the simplest and one of the most useful examples of how when you're in a trying situation, you're going to automatically respond. That automatic response is coming from your subconscious. However, damn, I'm choking on myself. I might be grandma. I mean, unzip myself. Hello there.
You're manifesting that shit?
Yeah, buddy. Well, we have research in the cognitive neurosciences that validate that the conscious mind is the creative part and it's responsible for what we call free will. And it's only 1% to 5% of our daily experiences and the actions that we take are coming from conscious awareness. So the rest is coming from the subconscious. So this means that 95% to 99% of your day is coming from someplace unknown to you. And if you have negative programs, which we all do, myself included, then for the majority of your day, you are fucking up your whole life unknown to you. And you think you're having a good time. And mindfulness comes into play here because if you aren't being fully present by learning to control your conscious mind, then the chances are you're either living in the past or you're living in the future. And in the present, you are playing out a dangerous subconscious program that's just hijacking because it knows what is best for you, or so it thinks. And who do you think is running your life? It ain't you. So when you're not able to notice your actions and your thoughts that are rooted in the subconscious mind and the programs that are playing, then everything that you do during the day is dictated by these programs. Your conscious mind is everywhere but right here. And you're not really going to be witnessing the programming coming up. So you're just going to be taking on whatever stimuli is in your environment that's causing a particular program to play. So I think the best way to go with this from this point, so people know what the hell is going on, is that we have all these different mechanisms that we use to do what we think is creating joy. And all of that stuff is like a result of propaganda and mind manipulation, right? I always tell people, instead of me explaining what's going on, there's two things you can go and watch when you get done listening to this podcast. You can go on to cchr.org, and one of the leading psychiatrists in the world has decided to go rogue and explain to people. He has a series of movies on that website, and him and all his colleagues, I should say, have a series of movies on that website they've put together about the hijacking of the psychiatry industry. And it tells you exactly how we are manufactured to be victims by this industry. The second thing I would tell you go to is pick up a book by Dr. Tana Deneen. That's Tanadineen. It's called Manufacturing Victims. And she and her colleagues got sick of the bullshit and decided to expose everything and write a book on how psychology screws people up. And basically, the plot of that book reveals how a lot of the labels that we wear, I am depressed, I am anxious, and those things were created to disempower us and keep us out of sovereignty. And the next thing I would say is go on bitchute.com. So that's bitchute.com, and look for Cult of the Medics by David Whitehead. And he goes on to explain, for those who don't know anything, he explains everything about who's running the show and why everything seems to be so chaotic all the time and why we do the things that we do and all that kind of stuff. So that leads me to my next topic. So people are probably like, what the fuck? Give me more evidence.
Yeah, hold on real quick. Remember how I was talking about I've been watching all these podcasts that are more educational based and stuff? Like, I was just fully in one right now, like listening to you. Like, I was like, this is what I want. This is why he's here. Like, this has been, dude. Yeah. Wow. You've been blowing my mind and revealing and really putting into words so many things that I haven't been able to fully explain to people. Like, just so many people are just like okay with everything that's going on right now, and they're just like, look, if I do this, then I can just get on with my life, right? Like, we'll say it as simply as that. And I'm like, but that's the problem. It's like, we have to say no to those things in order to actually get back to our life.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
so much of it can be explained by how we've all been, brought up through school. It's like the people, the authority figures say the thing, we say it back to them, and now we're allowed to go to the next level, right? Like that's like at the core, that's like what school taught us, right? So now we're getting all of the media saying, this is what's happening, do this, and you can get to the next level of freedom, or, what have you. And I am going to listen to this podcast another 100 times after this. I'm going to be taking notes. I seriously, like, I can't wait to go back through this and to, like, because what I always do, I mean, you've seen, I go back through it, I edit it, and I take the stuff that really jumps out, and then I post it, right? And like, that process has been so rewarding for me, because like, I'm like, when I'm in, I'm trying to be as present as possible when I'm in these podcasts, and like, so I'm not going to sit here and like take notes on what you're saying. Like, I just want to have the conversation. Right. So like, same with any of the people that I have on, like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, at this time he said this, so when I'm editing, it'll be easier for me to find it. And then I go back, because like, that's just going to take me completely out of it. Like, that's the editing process. That's what that's for. So like, to be able to sit here and just be fully like engulfed in all these things that you're saying, like you're giving me the words I need to explain these things. Like, so thank you so much for all of this. Now, what I have to ask you is, because there's no way you learned this in school, right? There's no way how I want to know more about like your journey of like finding out all of this. And like, I don't want to, kind of sound cheesy and be like, you're awakening to these sorts of things. But like, we talked about how you grew up, playing music and that whole process. But like, what was that in between that got you from like playing music and doing the lessons and being like, no, to playing on stage to where you are now? Like, how did you educate yourself on all these topics that you're speaking about,
brother.